Well, the only guarantee in an online e-battle, which they did indeed think was a fight, that is how they fight, by typing on keyboards like pussies and bitches and weaklings. Well, I don't like them, like I said. So, go men. I will continue. You may wish what you want, but it will happen to you. You piss drinker.
An unwelcome side effect from his most recent cocktail of crazy pills would see his weight soar rapidly past 300 pounds, and having cultivated a look close to an obese Charles Manson, this fat ball of hair would at least begin to look as insane as he so often sounded. Although much of the heavy lifting, so to speak, was courtesy of his new calorie-intensive diet, Lewis would turn every mealtime into some sort of demonic mukbang, often combining multiple dinners with hefty assortments of store-bought treats, before washing down every mouthful with yet another taurine-infused sip of Monster Energy.
I think he could have initially gotten fat off the Risperdal, but, you know, since he's been doing the lawsuit, like over a decade, he's not been taking it. Like, you know, he doesn't take it anymore. And he's had surgeries to remove his tits. And he got really skinny for a bit. So I think his current fatness isn't really attributed to anything but gross overeating. He just basically makes a mountain of random food in a bowl and then consumes it.
With his parents having practically gave up on any sort of reasonable solution regarding his ongoing psychological treatment, they would come up with a rather unorthodox if slightly dehumanising arrangement. Lewis would be confined almost entirely to the basement of their suburban home, affording him permanent residence and security, whilst hopefully limiting his mental volatility to an isolated space not too dissimilar to Joseph Fritzl's rape dungeon. But there were certainly plenty of perks to his new living space, with Lewis enjoying the sort of privacy and square footage his bedroom simply didn't allow. And as a 300-pound adult male with a full-sized anime body pillow, stuff like that really matters. To his parents, the arrangement would quickly become a classic case of out of sight, out of mind. They would conclude that not asking questions of their son's basement activities, however grisly they may be, would potentially afford some degree of plausible deniability should the worst case scenario finally occur.
It's the beat suite. It's just where he just goes and just whacks off all day long and probably like has like cum goblins down there. Like, it's disgusting. Like, I would be scared if I were his parents to even look down there, honestly. It's where like you would imagine somebody like Buffalo Bill would keep like a girl that he was raping. Like, it's like a bad place. There's just a computer in like a corner, and it's an old house, so like it's just spooky. It's a spooky place. It's perfect for him. He's like Nosferatu, basically.
If Lewis was a character on a script and you were a set designer for a movie and you had to make a basement for a psycho stalker who's obsessed with wrestling and toys and is like stuck in Arrested Development, I think you'd probably end up with Lewis's basement at the end.
I mean, for what it's worth, from like 2009 until 2020, before I became Mogar the Great, I kind of like use the word honesty and describe to people that they should actually like learn what I'm warning them about before they overheat in the sun for trying to look like an anime character.
You got a notice in the mail to renew your driver's license? Would you like me to go online and do it for you? I've done it before.
Sure, that saves me a lot of effort.
Okay, so do you have it? So give it to me so I have the number.
Yeah, I could find it. It's
Maybe it's upstairs.
But for Lewis, this basement paradise would come with its fair share of anger-inducing compromises, such as putting up with his parents arguing over the television upstairs, or crying over his inability to assemble a computer.
well, that's a lot of effort saved.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm working.
Okay, hey. You need any help?
I was in it. You interrupted my thought process.
How's it going, man? Huh? You making progress? Do you need any tools? Huh? I'm just trying to help, alright? Let me know if you need any tools or anything.
One thing. It's kind of like I just don't want to be asked questions or have anything stated to me. I get annoyed because that is the way to turn it off. That's the way to turn it off. Is just take the fucking plug out of the wall, yank it out, at the least, at the most, destroy it! It's as simple as that! It is as simple as can be! Quit arguing with a piece of machinery and either unplug it or destroy it! So I don't have to make a lunatic out of myself in a public manner when I am trying to be restrained.
But most importantly, the basement would give Lewis a platform to play out his lifelong fantasy of becoming a professional combatant. And with the wooden beams holding up the floorboards above his head deemed insufficient to support an actual heavy bag, his recently deflowered anime body pillow would have to suffice. The pillow would depict a questionably aged and barely dressed Japanese schoolgirl, and would until now represent the closest thing to a sexual outlet available to him without the potential risk of incarceration. But despite his unhealthy gravitation towards the smut-infested world of Japanese cartoons, he was more than happy to sacrifice his beloved pillow if it meant following the path of a true warrior. With the exact combat discipline on display rather difficult to put a finger on, he would effortlessly drift from an almost ballet-like expression of dance jitsu to the explosive barbarism of a Nordic brute, ensuring his every move was broadcast to the simperidine cesspit known as Twitch. And with his elaborate costume ensembles ranging from cybergoth samurai to carnival warlock, a whole new breed of contemporary martial arts would unfold before our very eyes.
So that's a pillow. He backed the Kickstarter to, what was it? Some Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden 2, which is like some meme JRPG or something, and that was just like that was like a backer prize he got. So that's like a character from the game on the pillow. Or it was until he destroyed the cover and removed it. Now it's more masking tape than pillow.
His expanding array of eccentric battleware would see Lewis fully embrace his rapidly shifting delusions, with every wardrobe change bringing with it yet more nonsensical backstories. When not role-playing the basement adventures of a steampunk vampire, he'd often be found beating his anime pillow dressed as some sort of buccaneering jester in a Skyrim mask.
I don't like his combat attire at all, no. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, just gay. I'm not a fan of it. I've told him. It's like a fucked up mix between like fantasy and like gay medieval like weapons. It mixed with like weeaboo weapons and attire. Like it's like half like Bushido, half like I liked the gothic Lou the best. Was my favorite when he wore like a trench coat and things like that. That was my favorite. Like when he had the guitar, you know, in that photo. He wears like a dress. He was wearing a kilt one day. It's disgusting though. It disgusts me. I don't like his attire at all.
It's got so much going on. It's like fucking Hot Topic shit, just like cosplay shit, samurai shit, karate shit, fucking druid masks. It's so unique and Lewis, but I don't think I can just put my finger on it distinctly.
All I quit about it, cried the town. How I wish I was in Shawbrook now.
Behold. I got my gas mask here. Smells like peppermints by default. I got my Master Roshi shades on today, and you know what? Since I'm king around here, that means I'm chief around here. It's the same word, just different spelling, right? So I got myself a big old headdress.
But it was his use of custom weaponry that would truly escalate his eccentric displays to the level of pure performance artistry. His growing armoury of fighting tools would mostly be comprised of whatever he could find around his local vicinity, although he would on occasion allocate a portion of his government welfare to something resembling real-world weaponry. But it was in his creation of custom combat equipment where Lewis would apportion the majority of his maniacal efforts. These would include a wooden stick duct taped to a fire poker, a garden trowel tied to a rope, and even a javelin crafted from a broom handle and what appeared to be a katana sword. And with his parents at this stage not in the least bit interested in the exploits of this burdensome retard, he was given full license to continue expanding his unsettling collection of murderous instruments, with some sort of decorative fantasy world sword by far his most extravagant fighting tool. But it was his introduction of a full-sized agricultural scythe, a product of his obsession with Cartoon Network's Billy and Mandy, that would bring Lewis the most joy, albeit at the cruel expense of his now battle-worn anime pillow.
They don't understand history before 1942. They think the Luger, a piece of shit pellet gun invented by a faggot retard who wrote a shitty book, is powerful enough to insult me for 3 years, and I have had it. I have caught them, and whatever happens to them, so may be it.
Let's see, there's a garden trowel on a rope, there's a scythe, and there was also like some long pole he made, and with both the scythe and the long pole, with I think maybe a rake on the end or something, I can't remember, but like because they're so long they snap in the middle and then he just like masking tapes them back together, and then sort of like when he's used, like especially when that scythe, that's quite dangerous because like half of it's flapping around while he's holding the bottom half in his hands.
They're horrible. Like they're just honestly like the worst things I've ever seen in my life. It's like a scythe that like you'd see on some gay like JRPG or something on like PlayStation, like all like big oversized like blades, like just stuff that like nobody ever has used in the entirety of human history. Nobody has ever used any of these for warfare. Like it's just like stuff you'd buy in like a shitty mall, like in like some shitty store.
Maybe that's why I'm not this guy. I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm not supposed to be that guy. It's just this fucking credit card just keeps kind of disappearing, and I'm living broke as shit. So all I've been doing is spending fucking Rio money on swords and weapons so I can get some fucking anything else. Feel my justice, you pigs! You're rice! You're not even animals, you're rice!
With his skills sharpening with every strike against his dilapidated pillow, Lewis would soon up the ante. His next challenge would be to test his combat readiness against the many perils of the outdoor wilderness. In a rather concerning development, Lewis would turn his attention away from his collection of DIY weaponry and towards the world of active firearms. Having purchased 2 CO2-powered BB guns, he would immediately set his basement up for a round of target practice training.
These are $80 online. And last but of course not least, a gun. There it is.
With his misfiring cerebral cortex stuck in permanent combat mode, most likely a result of his inability to separate the real world from the sheer abundance of sexually violent anime he was consuming, Lewis would quickly turn his attention to a local dojo he attended as a child, hopeful of continuing his journey as a martial artist. With a particular interest in karate, he would proceed to dabble in the discipline throughout his younger years, albeit with the physical grace of a crash test dummy. However, as a visibly unbalanced man in his late 20s, the likelihood of Lewis convincing his former sensei to play out some sort of Master Roshi fantasy to a 300-pound Goliath remained rather slim. In a series of highly uncomfortable confrontations, he would repeatedly arrive at the dojo unannounced, demanding the immediate return of a yellow belt he had apparently earned years prior, often in the horrified company of the many children attending the class.
Here it is. Open for business. Hello.
How can I help?
This is Lewis Finley.
Louis.
You haven't changed at all.
You go.
I have grown. Do you need any help around the place?
You know, always.
Always? Okay. You have belts.
You said yellow, yes?
Yes. What belt do you think I am now?
Well, that doesn't work that way.
I know. Hey man, that's my yellow belt. I earned that years ago. What's that badge even for? That's not Ryuku Sho Kempo. I mean it, let me see that. This is mine now. You got it? You know what, Sensei? This is my yellow belt. I will wear it with pride.
Back at the basement, Lewis would indulge in further childhood regression with the purchasing of his very own baby doll. Having initially sourced the toy as a target dummy, his stance eventually softened, claiming she's too lovable to hit. Although much like the romantic communions in certain segments of the urban community, it wasn't long before affection turned to violence, with the baby now subjected to the sort of abusive treatment not seen since the trial of Ian Watkins. Fortunately, his growing Barbie collection would more than fill the void, with the spectral man baby often found crawling across his basement floor pushing a pink glam convertible.
There we go. It's pretty secure. Let's use the staff. The baby smokes a lot. She bought a VIP ticket. This is part of the audio. That's really smooth on my desk. Let's try the carpet.
We was trying to talk him into getting a new pillow, and I think that's when he got the baby doll for target practice. He just went to a gas station and bought it. It's just funny to picture him in his like motorcycle gear, hobbling into a store and just buying a baby doll and some camels and leaving. I think he ended up befriending the doll instead of destroying it. Although I think he has like attacked it with a scythe and stuff on occasion.
That just showed up one day. I'm pretty concerned about that, though, to be honest with you. It's a little strange.
And when not indulging himself in the misadventures of a 6-year-old schoolgirl, Lewis could often be found shredding his BC Rich Beast electric guitar, often in poetic unison to the elegant assault of his anime pillow. And despite possessing the dexterity of Abu Hamza, he would at the very least put on a bloody good show.
I'm not a very musical person, but a lot of the times when he does something, especially something creative, he assumes like he's doing it perfectly and he's the best in the world at it. Like I've seen quite a few MS Paint drawings by him that look like they could have been done by an 8-year-old, and he's like seriously trying to like tell me the artistic value of it.
He's got a pretty evil guitar. It looks like the kind of guitar a man with swords and a trench coat would be using. It's pretty elaborate and shitty looking. It looks exactly like you'd expect, really.
Keen to maximise his effectiveness in a self-defense situation, Lewis would look to every potential advantage in overcoming the imaginary enemies swirling around his defective brain. Relying on his expertise in hand-to-hand combat or aptitude with single or dual-wield weaponry would no longer cut the mustard. Eager to capitalise on the element of surprise, he would cover his entire torso in camouflage, using a selection of green marker pens to help him blend perfectly into a potentially bushy backdrop. And after growing out his fingernails, arguably through the continued neglect of his own appearance, he would quickly realise the devastating potential literally at his fingertips. With 5 sharpened protrusions on each hand, Lewis Finley had finally become the ultimate killing machine.
Rolly was really the one who, she was like, you need to cut your fucking nails, like, you're disgusting me. And we thought that she would have some sort of like effect because she's a girl and I don't really know what she looks like. She claims to be attractive, so we thought that Lewis would believe that, or I don't know. We thought that maybe he would want to take her advice, or I don't know. We thought that he would, I don't know, at least listen to what she had to say. He told her basically go fuck yourself, you cunt, basically, and like didn't listen to anything she said about his fingernails and just kept growing them longer.
I think it's partially out of laziness and also partially an orc/vampire cosplay. So he's just growing out his fingers. So like he says they're weapons, and when he was on his orc and vampire thing, he brought up a lot that he has these claws because he's an orcish vampire.
We thought that we'd be able to, she wouldn't like me saying this, but use her as like a, I don't know, to just get him to do something, like, I don't know, but now he wasn't interested at all. He told her to fuck off. He told everybody to fuck off about his nails. I don't know why he grew them out like that at all. I don't think they were initially intended to be a weapon. They're definitely weapons now. They definitely give you a nasty infection if he scratched you.
Those folks have been telling me about their different ninjutsu eye abilities to keep a sharp eye. I sort of have horns on my head. You see these ridges? Like I sort of actually do have those like frilled horns on my forehead. I know I'm strong for some reason, and at one point I just kind of gave up and decided I should just sexually assault the figments of my imagination the entire time until they started dying. God damn. It really shows off everything. Holy shit. If you're a man and some spiritual enemy is another man or a woman, just rape them, because they're not real. They're not a real person. You could just rape them.
Unfortunately, no amount of physical training could possibly prevent the tsunami of untreated delirium from completely submerging his surroundings. The blur between reality and the endlessly fictitious nonsense spouted from his bearded gob would only worsen, with Lewis now under the impression that he was in fact living on a small Japanese island somewhere in the East China Sea. Such was his investment in this Japanese fantasy that he would even deny his own familial lineage, claiming his real parents are somewhere in Chicago, although his story would change on a week-by-week basis, with his cognitive state often mirroring the doddering babble of a Joe Biden press conference. He would even claim the existence of a three-dimensional, real-world wife, confessing to a somewhat confusing backstory possibly caused by short-term memory loss. It was later revealed during a sexually charged conversation with who he thought was a middle-aged nymphomaniac that his imaginary spouse may be some sort of obsessive manifestation of his beloved Lauren.
As far as I can tell, his wife is Lauren, and sometimes she turns into a raven, and the amount of children he has with her changes. Usually it's one, but sometimes he has two. Sometimes he doesn't have kids with her. It's sort of like, like some kids have an imaginary friend, he has an imaginary wife.
I think he just says this to, it's just like when he posts comics like right now in Discord nonstop. I think he just wants to get attention. I don't know. I know he doesn't actually believe he lives on a Japanese island. It is an elaborate story about his Japanese island that he comes up with, but it's all nonsense. And I don't know, but he has claimed he's had a wife for a long time, so he might believe that.
I think it happened sometime last year, so now he thinks that, I think it might be like he thinks the whole state of Maryland as well as Poolsville is actually in Japan, and no one realised, is his explanation as to why he's only now just finding it out. So why it might look like small town America, rest assured he's actually a samurai in Japan.
Yep, that's where I live. It's very, very cut off and secluded. It's it kind of doesn't make sense. It's why I was a little bit lost for a while. Is Fuji Q Highland is the amusement park in the mountains in Japan, but I'm finding out there's also actually like a Disney World and stuff like that. But this was most likely part of Fuji Q. It's confusing. It's a long story. I kind of ended up in this house with a bit of memory loss, and also a bunch of martial artists are out here, and I kind of just joined in that and all that with my confusion, and then it turned out that some woman owned this house, and I stay with her. Who she told me before that she was some chick who lived in California, who was like a surf model or something. She gave me a fake name a long time ago. She said her name was Katie Lavelle, that she, what was it, okay, I'm trying to think of what she came up with. It was actually very creative now that I think about it. She claimed that she knew the guy who made 4chan, and that she would go to like app parties because she lived near Silicon Valley, where all the California app stuff is. She wears a lot of scary looking goth stuff and a ton of makeup and graffitis walls, is what she actually does. It's like she's like trying to recover from her own made up backstory of like, without telling me that she had that fake name of that Katie girl, who had like accused me of pretty much doing nothing. She then like sort of decided to reveal that who she actually is just like, hey, if you're like a murdering rapist, that's cool with me. And I was like, well, wait a minute, I totally am. Right on.
Life for Lewis Finley would continue spiralling deeper into a vortex of frantic paranoia, with his behaviour at this point about as ridiculous as the notion of a Gen X e-beggar trying to arrest the internet. For example, after a phone call from Californian law enforcement, supposedly a routine checking in of a former inmate, he would suffer a complete and utter psychological meltdown. He would attempt to contact just about anybody dumb or bored enough to respond to his tedious badgering, requesting their participation in a violent posse, and assistance in shielding him from perceived evildoers.
Yeah, some group says they're from California that claim to be police, and are accusing me of stalking some woman I don't even know. Listen, man, so whoever the hell it is, they claim to be from California or something. They keep barking up this chick end of a bad creek, and I tried to warn them. I tried to use my ID, my jurisdiction, to inform them that they're doing a bad thing, but they didn't get the hint. So I can figure out how to pay everyone later, but I'm asking if we can form a posse for a little while. I just personally want some protection. I mean, essentially. I mean, can I get a solid answer? Please, I'm asking you. I'm at wit's end.
I think his parole officer or probation officer called him on the phone from California to check in, I believe, because, you know, they farm out his probation to Maryland, I guess, a local office, but his California people will call in every once in a while, and I think that he had a unsavory exchange with them, and when he was yelling at them about being in the army or whatever, he was screaming at them on the phone, and then he messaged me, said he needed to start a posse. I guess I'm the man to contact if you want to fight the federal government, which I'm not, by the way. I wouldn't want the federal government to think that.
His mum picked up the phone and it was his old prison calling him. It's just some sort of checkup to make sure he's like where he's supposed to be, I'd imagine. So she had to put him on the phone with the guy to confirm he was there. And Lewis got quite irate with the guy and accused him of shitting up the wrong creek and thought he was some sort of troll or something, trying to destroy his life, and got very agitated. And after he got off the phone with this person doing their routine checkup, he started frantically phoning people and texting people in his contacts to form a posse to stave off the bandits that were coming for her or whatever he thought was happening.
I said, yeah, brother, let's do it. I'll actually look at the text right now. Let me find it. Hang on. I'll tell you exactly what I said. Okay. He said, yo, giving you a heads up, the dumb fucks who keep calling me ain't got the message. I'll figure out how to pay the posse later, but I'm asking for protection. And I said, protection granted. Tell me what you need and you've got it. And he, this was clearly his mom messaged me back, or somebody, not him, said, "Thanks, I'm doing some role playing with a group of friends right now, and I found a new therapist I'll speak with once a week." That's not him. He did not message me that. That had to have been his mom or something taking his phone away. And I said, 10-4, here if you need me.
But it was a particularly troubling confrontation with his father that would truly cement his neurological decline into purified madness. Having had his government benefits severely cut following his time playing out a series of live-action cutscenes from the Metal Gear Solid franchise, Lewis would march upstairs and face Patrick, aggressively demanding money allegedly earned from his time in the military. And although to actually enlist somebody like Lewis Finley would be like giving Frankie McDonald the nuclear launch codes, there really is no bottom to the cartoonish pits of his medically induced imagination. In a video streamed to his Twitch channel, he would violently assert that he cannot access savings generated from supposedly serving in the armed forces, before claiming the money was being willfully and vindictively kept from him. But his father's confused expression would instead tell the story of a man desperately trying to reach a son no longer in control, with his tragic pleas to pull Lewis back to reality seemingly in vain. And with claims of exchanging money with his imaginary wife and threats of exposing his parents to the internet, it's difficult not to sympathise.
He's gonna pay me my military money. Are you going to pay me my military money that I earned from? You don't know what I'm talking about. Well, here is my rank on my hat. Here is my ID. I have been. So you're not going to pay me what I have been paid, and you expect me to continue to trade under $1,000 between what I have found on the ground with my wife for a living. Is that what you are saying? Am I comprehending you correctly, Dad?
I guess.
That's what you're saying.
I don't know. What do you want me to do? I don't.
Will you pay me the money I got from the military, from my job?
$1,000?
I don't know, because you are that stingy. Then I will tell you what I'm talking about. I am recording this. It is live. I will send it to everybody unless you take out your fucking wallet and give me my money that I earned so I may support my family. Those are your options. Now, I am hungry. I have a family.
You don't have any money? You don't have any money in the bank?
It is in your name for some reason.
No, it isn't. You're Cap 1. You should have money in there.
Has $800 that I trade with my wife every single month and have been doing so for years.
You need money for food? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
What do you need?
My money that is in your bank account.
Can I give you $20?
No, you can give me all of my money that I
I
earn.
don't know what you're talking about, earning.
Currency, dollars.
Yeah, Lewis.
So this is the way out you've chosen. So I could share this on the internet so people can see that you are a piece of shit of a father who has been doing this for way too long, instead of you deciding to stop picking this battle with me and paying me the money that I earned to get to the rank of Captain Colonel Chaplain, because I am religious, of the United States Army, as well as getting a Special Forces ID.
Are you taking your bike or what?
I'm saving this and I'm uploading it to the internet.
Okay.
I've also already called people for protection in case you decide that you want protection, because I simply asked for what I have earned. You have comprehended. You are dismissed.
Lewis was on his military kick, saying he was a lieutenant colonel chaplain or something at the time, and he I don't know, I think he just wanted money and he invented some reason to need it or something. And yeah, just went up to his dad and harassed him for his military pay he was owed.
Lewis called me one day and said that he was going to put his parents, he was looking for a home to put his parents in, a retirement home, because they were taking all his money from the WWE from him. And he said that there were a financial strain on him, and that he asked me if I had any recommendations for retirement homes in the area. Since, I mean, I live like 2.5 hours away, so I wouldn't have any retirement home recommendations even here, so much less there. But that led up to him, I guess, confronting his dad later on in the week about money that they were withholding from him. And his dad, I guess, didn't really know what he was talking about. And Lewis threatened him, said that he was in the military, and how dare you, withhold the money from me. I need my money. I'm an officer or whatever in the U.S. military and shit like that. I think that he had a delusion that his parents were a financial strain on him.
His dad just seemed confused and maybe a bit wary that he was going to kick off or something, because he was getting quite aggressive. Then, yeah, he just basically tried to placate him with takeaway, which I think seemed to work.
But a faint light would yet flicker at the end of Lewis Finley's neurological tunnel, with the Discord server acting as something of a social sanctuary. It had given him a forum to participate in a communal environment, whilst also providing him an engaging audience for his creative outlets. But one user in particular would continually rub him the wrong way, leading to a lengthy and ultimately rather vicious online feud.
Bick Bickerson? Who's that? I don't know.
Sentient blob Bick Bickerson was not so enamoured with the idiosyncratic displays of Mr. Finley, and made no bones about his total disdain for who he saw as an unmedicated exhibitionist with a propensity for monopolising conversation. Rich words indeed.
Did you say Bickerson?
They keep on saying Bick Bickerson, I don't know what that means.
Bick would state how he can't stop his fucking unmedicated mind from constantly blathering, before encouraging him to get professional goddamn help and medication. He would end with a warning, asserting that you're gonna live in your parents' house until they die, and then end up in a mental facility at best, homeless and dead at worst. Lewis would respond by writing Bick Bickerson's name on a body pillow before repeatedly puncturing it with a cocktail of swords and daggers. He then rather suggestively wrote Bick's name on a roll of toilet paper, before tearing up and then urinating on a decorative sketch of his arch nemesis and flushing it down the lavatory. His rebuttals would often consist of creative insults, puzzling riddles, and what seemed like actual death threats, with one image in particular posted depicting a rusted pair of garden shears with the caption, "I think this jammed under your eyelids would look terrific on you." But perhaps the most threatening of posts would again show the same body pillow impaled with medieval weaponry, with the caption, "You will die like this if you ever try me in person like you did online."
Bick Bickerson is the Robotnik to Lewis's Sonic, a heavy-set ginger man who's very irritable and angry and tries to foil Sonic's plans, and that's basically what Bick does to Lewis. He doesn't really try and foil his plans, he tries to break his delusions, and that's why Lewis hates him.
Bick Bickerson's just a butthole, a real butthole. He's just a bad man. He just doesn't know how to behave himself.
So once Bick had angered the beast, he then proceeded to draw a depiction of Bick, piss on it outdoors, and then he wrote Bick on his body pillow and put a whole shit ton of weapons in it, like bladed weapons. It was just basically a pincushion of samurai swords and bullshit afterwards.
Eventually, the elevated social anxiety triggered from his time on instant messaging platforms saw Lewis retreat from all forms of online communication. He would now spend the entirety of his more fraternal existence in the virtual world of Second Life, encouraging those around him to join his simulated escapades. His avatar would reflect how he truly saw himself: an athletic black man in a denim jacket sporting a decorative mohawk. An incredibly long pipe would protrude from his mouth, with a pair of fingerless gloves completing the ensemble. Having initially refused my offer of an in-game interview, I was fortunate enough to speak with Lewis in a neutral treehouse location, keen to discover the appeal of his brave new world.
It's how Lewis would like to see himself, I think. This tall, muscular black man with a mohawk, smoking a long pipe. It's just Lewis's idea of cool and how he wishes he looked physically.
I don't think he thinks he's black, but he's been telling everybody he's black for a long time. So it looks like a black juggalo or something, if I'd imagine, like mix between the two. It's like he has like a mohawk, and like he dresses like a post-apocalyptic, like what are the tube snakes on like Fallout or whatever, like whatever the fuck they're called, like some fucked up 90s movie, like a henchman in like the Warriors or something like that.
What inspired you to go for that kind of an avatar? Because obviously in real life you're not black.
I'm about to like just shove you out of here. I'm sick of that shit. Nobody in here fucking cares.
No, I'm not trying to have a dig or anything. I'm just curious.
No, you are.
No, I swear to God, I'm
You
not
are
trying to.
right now.
I want to like see the thought process behind it. I mean, you don't have to answer. It's okay. I'm sorry though. I didn't mean to push a button or anything.
No, you did. That's why you keep asking that, and you keep bringing up whatever from Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell is.
He frequents Second Life brothels, paying Lindens to get virtual blowjobs. He is a bouncer at the oldest Second Life strip club, he tells me. The strip club is called Old Lars's Place, and it has like a smiling, elderly, bearded biker man on the banner with the American flag behind him. He won't introduce me to his friends on Second Life, so I think he probably does have them. Like, I mean, maybe he doesn't, and that's why he won't show them to me. But I think it was just he was embarrassed by me.
Oh, he says he's been excavating some serious poontang on there in Second Life. He's got a lot of girlfriends, and he's been laying pipe on there, is what he claims. Probably got a lot of ladies on there. He's been hollowing out, fornicating with them in the Second Life world. That's what he told us. I think that he's just got a lot of ladies he's got to take care of, brother. More than likely, these ladies are actually pedophiles, or just men or women that are in trailers in Appalachia somewhere. I think that, he's got a lot of work to do as a bouncer there in Second Life as well. So, that's hard work.
Yeah. Okay. So back when I got started, I was part of Second Life Teens, and I was just a teenager.
Yeah.
But it was really janky, and I would go to adult zones, and folks would definitely have stuff like that set up, and it was usually like a more gothic vibe. There wasn't a lot of like nature romance style things set up yet.
Yeah.
I definitely walk in on some shit. trying to get my girlfriend to kind of loosen up. She had a DJ gig at one place that didn't take off. She spends a lot of time at the home base, surprisingly, which really isn't normal. Usually guys like walk around with their girlfriends. Well, in my case, there was a dancer manager who works there already, and she let me sort of like wing a tryout. I got like $800 on my first night, and the manager said like some of the the long-term dancers, they were like some of what she considers the better ones, and she didn't use names. She said like those get like maybe 500 on a night like that. The lady dancers, like when they strip, the dudes want to see them strip, but I play it really coy. I only took my shirt off, and I was wearing like a turban, and I took that off. I'm kind of a scumbag. There's really lazy prostitutes, and it's really easy to get laid that way. The cheapest can be like 50 lindens.
Wow, that's fucking good.
Literal 2-cent whores. Well, what they do is they lay in a bed, kind of like one of these, and they just have like a blurb over their head that's like pay in advance or get banned from the zone. But like bots, like folks make really, they make good-looking bots, and those are bots. Those are bot hookers. Those are like fleshlights. They're the fleshlights of Second Life. There's kind of like an all-in-one dick add-on to have.
In efforts of monitoring Lewis in his natural habitat, a series of expertly disguised scouts were deployed to his newly acquired Second Life location. Having perfectly blended into the poorly modelled background coursing by at an impressive 14 frames per second, the inquisitive mole was able to follow Lewis's every step, often following him to and from his security shifts at a nearby exotic dance club. Eventually, more users followed suit, and it wasn't long before Lewis was practically swarmed with a cacophony of scantily clad females, wheelchair-ridden mutants, and even a screeching gargoyle soaring above their heads. Having sufficiently entertained the deranged hysteria of his new friends, Lewis would invite them to sample some of the seedier pleasures of Second Life, with an exciting trip to a local brothel. And just like that, Lewis Bonifield Finley had finally found his happy place.
His primary life is so limited now that I think he finds the freedom of Second Life very attractive because of the lack of freedom the government or his parents give him in his actual life, even if that is like warranted.
I've done a couple things in Second Life, yeah. I came in there as a gargoyle into his world, and I went around and just shrieked slurs above him while he was trying to interact with his friends on there. Just flew around like a gargoyle for about an hour and then left. Yeah. I don't think he liked that very much. I think he felt embarrassed that the gargoyle was flying around in his server harassing him, used bad words. So I don't think he wants me to get on Second Life again. I plan to probably fly around on there just to make sure he's behaving sometime pretty soon.
Oh my god, it's Mac. You can go fucking die.
How many pedophiles are logged in there right now at this time?
I mean, you could
Call
type
him
in
up,
prostitute
bro.
in the search box yourself and go there.
He said, Matt can go fuck himself.
He's not very happy. He's really not happy.
What'd you do? Please tell me you're recording the
Like these long awkward pauses.
Oh no, he's like huffing really hard.
Yeah, he's huffing.
I'm about your dude's age, right? And I shouldn't have to, like, fire off like I'm freaking Gandalf the Great summoning the eye
You're like,
of...
okay.
you look... Ooh, man, you look like my goal weight. Like some of those dudes in that Discord, which is kind of like... They're kind of like the exact type of reason to just, like, leave that chat service in the first place, you know what I mean?
He's been around about one black person his whole life. He doesn't realize how bad they suck.
Yeah, Matt can go fuck himself.
Alright, I'm downloading Second Life.
Alright,
God
where are you guys
damn
at?
it! God
You
damn
can do
it! Y'all
something
make me
with
fucking
this, I
download
think
this
my
fucking game.
What's your location so I can show up?
Son of a bitch. Alright, Second Life.
Wow.
Hey, it's JP. Is screeching like a pterodactyl. I got something really raunchy that's also a dance club.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
You're on a sex club? There's nobody in there, is there, other than you guys? No. It's so weird. I think Lewis is the only person that plays Second Life.
He said he was like retiring the character of Lewis.
Alright, well, okay.
Like he's fully dedicated to his Second Life now.
Oh, well, yeah, he's making money. He's making a lot of money on there, so. These fucking screenshots. This is what he does by himself. By himself, seriously, by himself. Oh my god. Can you expose your penis on that game?
Yeah, you definitely can.
I'd like to do
Not
that.
by default, but
How do I get where y'all are?
add-ons.
Whilst this particular chapter of Lewis Bonifield Finley must for now close, his incredible story should inevitably continue in one form or another. But as we say our goodbyes to this utterly fascinating individual, it's important to keep in mind how we got here. Lewis, whether he likes it or not, is the perfect embodiment of the utter failure of modern medicine to meet the psychological demands of society's mental pariahs. As thoroughly entertaining as his exploits documented in this video have been, there's a far more intriguing tale beneath the surface. Here stands a man neglected, mistreated and misdiagnosed throughout his 31-year existence. And despite his many foibles, we must all remember the difficult road he has been forced to travel upon. Despite the obvious privilege of ancestral wealth, Lewis has been deprived a fully functional mind and by extension a truly fulfilling life, the sort the rest of us really do take for granted. I truly think that deep down he's far from a bad person, and regardless of the many missteps he has taken, the world is an ultimately far richer place with Lewis Bonifield Finley part of it.